Okay, good afternoon. My name is Alicia Krosniak. I am a program specialist with the Connecticut Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, or CCEI as we refer to it. Accelerate UConn is one of my programs, and I am joined here today by our Executive Director, Jennifer Matthew, and Dr. Caroline Deely, who is our faculty liaison for Accelerate UConn. She is faculty at the School of Medicine and the School of Dental Medicine. So Jen, I am gonna pass it over to you to start.
Yeah, great. Thank you all for joining us. As Alicia mentioned, I'm the Executive Director of CCEI and support entrepreneurship activities over the last 6 years in my role. And Accelerate UConn has been the program that's the longest standing at the center and one of our absolute favorites to talk about. So thank you so much for joining us. A few housekeeping things. If you're popping in, just keep yourself on mute. We love for these sessions to be interactive, as the questions you have are likely ones that others are having. So feel free to throw your questions in the chat. Alicia will chime in and let me know, especially if they're timely in the moment. I'd love to answer them right away. And certainly at the end, we will save time to answer questions of all of you. And just one thing to note is I'd like to just give a high-level overview of CCI and some other programs that are available, as well as Accelerate UConn, just in case as we're going through the presentation, you're thinking, oh, maybe I'm actually at the point where some of these other initiatives would be a better fit for me. So for those of you who don't know anything about CCEI, we are a UConn-based center that supports and encourages and inspires entrepreneurship and innovation throughout UConn, across Connecticut, and to our alumni worldwide. So we support students, faculty, staff, postdocs, alumni. We actually work with a lot of entrepreneurs across the state of Connecticut, family businesses, veterans, and all kinds of entrepreneurs that are looking to build a business. So they come to us if they're looking to launch a company. Usually it starts with an idea. Hey, I think this is something. And then we kind of help you figure out from there what it could become. So CCI is located in 2 spaces. However, in this virtual space that we have all been in over the last 3 years, we're really kind of across all campuses, right? So we are able to encourage our populations from any campus at UConn to participate, but our physical location is in downtown Hartford in the Graduate Business Learning Center, and we have another location on the Storrs campus in the School of Business. So to give a quick overview of what we do, so I mentioned we build companies. And so most of our programs are found in our venture building category, which is certainly the area we will be focusing on today, but we have other categories of experiential learning where we engage students and opportunities to work with startups and with companies if they don't have business ideas of their own. A lot of the work we do in connectivity is focused on building a venture, and that we need mentors, we need resources to build companies, right? So we have a lot of programs in that space that really helps our entrepreneurs stay connected into the ecosystem and to develop relationships as their businesses grow over time. And we have a research and teaching arm as well. Being a Research One institution, we focus on research in the entrepreneurship space and being able to provide thought leadership as well. So we have research and teaching seminars and different activities that we participate in throughout the year. So here are our venture building programs. I'm guessing many of you are on this call because you have a business idea or potentially think you would like to go somewhere with an idea that you have. Well, we have several opportunities aside from Accelerate UConn that you can take a look at. So just generally Get Seeded, open to any student, undergrad, grad. If you have a business idea, you want to pitch it, great way to get seed funding, great way to get your idea out and potentially build a team. So oftentimes the pitch sessions are filled with other students that are looking to join teams if they don't have ideas of their own. If you're interested, we have several pitch nights coming up over the course of this semester, and Alicia can put the link in the chat now for the Get Seeded website, so you can go on, check out the dates, and apply if you'd like to pitch. We have a traction program, which is actually quite similar to Accelerate UConn. It is an opportunity to do some market research and to focus on building out business model canvas and thinking about how to validate the market potential for an idea you have. Usually, this is a good program for a consumer product or something that maybe doesn't have as much of a risk profile in launching into the market. So we'll talk about Accelerate UConn, and a lot of them are, technology-based scientific discoveries and things that, have a little bit longer of a track time and a longer runway to be able to launch. And so there's a lot more due diligence we do in Accelerate UConn to help you get there. And then summer fellowship is one of our culminating flagship programs. It's an accelerator that helps us launch companies. And so anywhere between 80 and 90% of the companies that are going through our summer accelerator went through one of the Accelerate UConn cohorts. So AU is definitely one of the precursor programs to summer fellowship. It's not required, but it's positions our startups so much more to be able to be successful in this program. And each team in that program receives $15,000 in funding, 5,000 of which can be put towards a student. So if you're a student, you are eligible to pay yourself essentially $5,000 to intern for your own company and launch your business over the summer, which is really cool. If you're a faculty member or a staff member, you can pay a student through this program to go through this over the summer and help you build out your company. And then finally, the Wolf New Venture competition. 5 of the teams from Summer Fellowship are selected to move on to this competition every year. And the winning team takes home $25,000 in funding. And there's also additional prize levels for second, third place, audience favorite, that sort of thing. So usually many of the teams walk away from that evening with some seed funding for their companies. And it's a really great way to showcase the work that you do out with our community. It's usually a high profile event and really great culmination of what we offer at the center. So happy to share more about these programs. I think Alicia also may want to throw in the chat the summer fellowship link, as that application deadline is coming up in March. All right, so let's talk about Accelerate UConn. That's why we're here. So Accelerate UConn is one of UConn's one of NSF I-Corps sites across the country. So there are 99 sites across the US that support innovation and build this ecosystem to support commercialization efforts at universities. So the goal of this program, when it started, I think in 2014, UConn was actually one of the first schools to get funding through NSF for this initiative, was that there are scientific discoveries happening in labs and at universities across the country. And what's happening is these scientific discoveries are not being looked at necessarily for their commercial viability or opportunity to generate funding, and could just sit in these labs and not necessarily go anywhere or go further and really have the potential to change the world, right? Many of these technologies. So this program was built. UConn received the first round of funding and have really taken it from there. It's been an amazing collaboration and connection, and there's lots of opportunities through NSF to further grow the funding that each of our teams are able to get through other grants. So Accelerate UConn is the name of our I-Corps site, and our goal really is to determine if there's a market potential for the opportunity or the idea that you have come up with. So it doesn't have to be this fully well-formulated business plan, right? We know that most teams that come through our program are not there yet, but the goal really is to say, hey, I know that there's this problem exists. I have potentially a solution, whether it's in a prototype form or not. And I want to determine if there's actually someone out there that will pay for this, right? Like I can actually generate revenue for this. And what's the pathway to market? How long is it going to take me to get this in the hands of an end user or a customer? And in medical technologies, often the answer is several years and quite a lot of money, but we help you figure that out. And then the other mission really is to connect in with our ecosystem. So we have a very vibrant ecosystem that we've been building over the last 15 years that CCI has been in existence. And we are connecting our startups in with the opportunities to continue to grow their business and launch. So just some fun stats here for all of you. So we have trained over 173 different teams. So that's 173 business ideas that we were able to cultivate through this program. And so we've completed 20 cohorts so far. So we kind of know what we're doing. And we have awarded almost $500,000 to teams to date to help them with this market research and customer discovery. But the most exciting number that I like to share is the amount of follow-on funding that our teams have generated because of their connection in with CCEI. So we have worked with our startups, and this number, honestly, like if we put this on the slide last night, it changes every day, because we find out, like we did yesterday, a whole slew of our startups actually generated revenue through the third bridge grant. We're really grateful for those teams. All of them have gone through Accelerate UConn and participated in CCI programs. But they all receive next step funding to keep carrying on, the work they're doing. So that number continues to grow every day. And I would like to turn it over now to my colleague and friend, Caroline Deely. So Caroline went through one of our very first cohorts of Accelerate UConn back in, I think it was like, 2015 or 2016, and has a lot of experience in launching a company and being a faculty member at the university, wearing lots of hats, but really committed to the innovation ecosystem. So she's a great person just to know and to be a part of, your network. But she can definitely talk about what it's like to be a faculty member that goes through this program and the value that she experienced from that. So Caroline.
Great. Thanks, Jen, for that introduction. And thanks, Alicia, also for, I can see all the comments that you're trading back and forth in the chat. So keep the questions coming. We're happy to answer them, as Jen said, in real time. So yes, I'm a UConn faculty. I'm also an alum. So I'm one of those, bleeding blue kind of individuals. And I'm also a research scientist. So I've run a research career and a funded, program as a PI in the area of tissue regeneration for over 25 years. And I got involved in commercialization of my research pretty much by accident. It wasn't something that I was really thinking of. This was, 10, 12 years ago when the university really wasn't promoting research commercialization the way major universities do now. And so it really was by accident. It wasn't something I had planned on doing, but UConn basically was so helpful and supportive that they kind of just took the rocks out of my path and really just helped and trained and encouraged me to learn about the process. And a big part of that was my involvement with CCEI and taking one of my technologies through that program. In fact, that was actually a second technology that I took through that program. The first I had developed first, and I did not go through the AU program at the time. I'm not sure it even existed. I don't think it did. And I really wish I had, because I think it would have, it could have moved that project in a different direction and perhaps a more successful outcome. But I can vouch for a couple of things that some of you, particularly if you're faculty members, may be wondering to yourself. One I can speak to is, firstly, I'm available to meet with anyone, faculty as well as students or staff. And there's my contact info there. You can email me and we can set up a time. I'm happy to meet with you individually. And, our meeting is confidential, but you really shouldn't, you don't need to tell me any details about what you're working on. I'll be able to answer most of your questions without really knowing anything about it. So you can just rest assured in that. There's no stake in any of us on this call in your technology or in your invention. And Jen's nodding her head. We don't do that. So some of you may be wondering, gosh, how much time is that going to take? And I know that Jen's going to talk about that, the commitment and what's involved in this program. But one of the things she brought up is that it's possible to recruit students to help you in this. If you're a faculty member, I do encourage that you learn as much as possible about the process because it really can help you guide the decisions you make in your program and in directing certain areas of your work towards commercialization that are most appropriate. So I do encourage you to learn, but students can help. And it's a great experience for them as well. Let's see what else. Another is that, kind of what is the value of this for your, for really research in general. And for this, I'm kind of speaking more from a life science background. Much of what you'll start hearing when you dip your toe in the water in the area of research commercialization are a lot of business terms, stakeholders and venture and all of these language that sounds very kind of alien. And, that may not sync with you. But I think one thing that we're all, wanting to do is to be part of something bigger in our lives and being able to contribute an invention that or technology that makes a difference in society, whether that's an app that makes life easier for people in one way or another, or a health technology, or a defense invention, or a manufacturing improvement. These are all things that we all want to help society. And research commercialization is really the way to turn your work at UConn into actual benefit for everyday citizens. And I know that drives me. And I've really found that, this is the vehicle to do it. And it's made a difference in the way I look at research and also the training that I give my students. So again, I'll leave it back to Jen. I would like to tell you that, I think the success record of what she showed from the teams that have gone through Accelerate UConn really speaks for itself. It is the flagship program at UConn. And it's kind of a gatekeeper, a doorway to future funding, both at UConn, in the state, and external. There's a ladder, right, that you can follow. And CCEI and their programs are really one step on that ladder. UConn is very fortunate to have them. Not all universities have this emphasis that we do, and they certainly don't have Jen to be leading it. So we're really very fortunate, and I do encourage you to take advantage of these opportunities. So with that, back to you, Jen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for all of that. And I would say, you can throw questions in the chat specifically if you wanted to ask Caroline while she's, here listening to the rest of the info session. She can jump in, and then certainly at the end we can answer your questions as well. But as I mentioned, the biggest thing is there a viable market opportunity for your technology? That's the question we ask. And as Caroline mentioned, there are so many technologies that could change the world that are available potentially to commercialize, or there's research that exists through one application. Like, we think about it through one way, but we have had startups go through or businesses go through our program and find that there's translatable applications of that research to other industries that may have a bigger impact, which is fantastic. So we see some of our researchers pivot a lot during this program, which is great. And we can really help them identify what is most beneficial to them as a potential business and to society, really. So what we teach through this program is what we call the Lean Launchpad methodology and the business model canvas. So some of you may have heard of this before, but the main thing is we look at this business model canvas as a one-page, quote unquote, business plan. So in startups, it's often said that by the time you start writing a business plan, they're multi-pages, right? They're 20, 30, 40 pages. That by the time you even get halfway through, the information you've already typed is not even relevant or accurate any longer because of how quickly things change and pivot. And that's why we have this one-page document that is kind of like a resume for your business, and in some regards of what it is that you're building and who you think you can connect with. And it always changes. So as you get more information, let's say on the customer that you plan to engage with through this process, you may have a set of customers in mind right now that have the pain point that you potentially can solve. Well, you go out and you talk to those people through customer discovery, and you realize they aren't actually facing that problem. Maybe they have a different issue that you could still solve with your technology, or you realize that there's a different customer that's in even more of a need of what you're offering, potentially in a different space, potentially through a different industry, through different means, and it can help you get just much better insights into the market. So we're constantly validating some of these hypotheses we have. So we do hypothesis testing for each of these areas. And what Caroline mentioned, I would like to say is a lot of most teams that go through this program don't have business training. So we are the School of Business. This is our expertise. This is what we do well. But we know many of our researchers or students that go through this program are coming from other schools and colleges across the university and have a much different set of skills that, we want to be able to serve you and want to be able to support you. And so part of the methodology that we teach is through the scientific method and understanding that running hypothesis testing are things that, our researchers are very well aware of, but there are terms that we teach you. There are business elements that we do dive into, but we kind of start off on this level playing field, assuming that no one has had any formal business training. So I say that in not wanting there to feel like there's a barrier to entry, or that you need to have information prior to coming. Everything you need, we provide you. What we provide through this program is a cohort model, which has been tried, true, and tested, that going through programs like this with others that are experiencing the same challenges, the same roller coaster of emotions, and going out talking with customers, getting really good answers one day, and then, something not so fantastic the next. It's really helpful in navigating this journey as an entrepreneur. So we do this 3 times a year with 10 teams each. Sometimes we do 12 teams, really depending upon the needs of that cohort. So we support about 30 startups a year through this program. We offer the instruction through the methodologies that I just spoke about. We do a lot of one-on-one support through our program mentors and instructors. So we have a team that I will introduce in a moment on a slide that teaches this program. They coach, they mentor, they're in the industry, they understand a lot. And if they don't know the answers to things, they often have quite a good number of people in their network to connect you with. And as Caroline mentioned, we support with team formation. So even if you're a student on the call right now and you need help finding another student because you need some more hands to be able to do all of this, we can help you absolutely find someone. As faculty, we understand that your time constraints are real, and we want to be able to provide you with the support necessary to move along. So we will help you find a student that can help. This program also provides funding. There's multiple phases that we'll talk about, but up to $4,000 in this program alone that you can capture to be able to build your market research, your customer discovery, and modest prototype developing at the earlier stage. As we mentioned, some of the outcomes really are to answer that question: is there a valid market opportunity? But also, is there the insights into a go or no go decision? Like, should I pursue this or not? And it's good to know that earlier on. And if you find out the answers are there isn't really a good market opportunity and this really doesn't need to go anywhere, it happens very infrequently. Our teams usually find a different commercial application. But if the answer is no, great, you saved time and you did that more quickly than many entrepreneurs do. But also, it's really the first step in our entire pipeline and processing into a lot of funding. So I-Core is a great program to carry on at a national level. We offer $50,000 in funding, and then also SBIR and STTR funding. So we find that our teams that have gone through the Accelerate UConn program have much higher levels of success receiving SBIR and STTR funding in the first go versus teams that don't participate in this program off the bat. So that's really that for outcomes. But to answer most of your questions is, okay, I'm interested now, like, can I participate? Only one member of your team has to be affiliated with UConn. So if you are on this call and you're not necessarily a UConn faculty, staff, student, or alumni, then you can find somebody that is, and we can help you, and you can certainly participate in the program. You can have faculty or other students from other universities on your team. They can come into the calls, they can be on our roster. It doesn't matter as long as one member of your team is affiliated with UConn in some way. This second bullet point about the idea of being based in scientific research, engineering, or technology, the word technology is so broad and can encompass a lot of different things. So when in doubt, reach out to us and ask us. We also may have the opportunity, if we expand a cohort by a few seats and have room for you, we potentially may be able to add your idea if it's not necessarily falling in that lines. We do have another program, as I mentioned, called Traction, which runs sort of parallel to this program, but through the consumer products space, as I mentioned. So we may just suggest you go that route if that's a better fit. And of course, being able to participate in all the program dates, which I will touch on in a second. So there's many members of the team that could potentially support this process for you. So there's an academic lead on your team, typically is a faculty member, postdoc, sometimes a graduate student. And they are the ones that have the research, scientific understanding, the technology. That's the person that kind of knows that space. The entrepreneurial lead sometimes is that exact same person. It depends on the team, the size, the number of people that can participate. But sometimes the entrepreneurial lead is an undergraduate student that works in that research lab that is going on to help the business go through the process of customer discovery. And there's also additional team members that can join in. If you have an industry mentor, someone that knows this space that works outside of UConn, they can join in. If you're looking for one, we can help you find one. So this is usually the members of the team, but like I said, sometimes there's multiple academic leads, sometimes there's multiple entrepreneurial leads. We've had teams where there's just a team of one, so they're kind of wearing all hats, but just bearing in mind that there's more of a time burden if it's one person on the team participating. As I mentioned, there are multiple phases of this program. So we start off with phase 0, which is not a required element. So you don't have to do 0, 1, 2. You definitely have to do 1 before you can do 2, but 0 is an introductory program we offered starting back in 2019, I believe, because we had so many people interested that we couldn't fit everyone in the fall and the spring cohort. So we allowed people to go through a shorter phase in the summer to trial, to see if it's something that they were interested in. And of course, as we found that out, it ended up moving a lot more of our teams from phase 0 to phase 1, which is great. And then this year, we offered phase 2, which is basically a next step beyond what the traditional program. So the traditional program has always done phase 1. So we basically added a introductory beforehand and a little bit more of next step support for phase 2. So those are kind of new additives over the last few years. All right. So what we are talking to you about today is phase 1. So kicking off with a traditional program starting in the spring. We kick off in February. So in less than a month, we have an in-person session at our center in Hartford. That was really key. Our teams had given us feedback over the last couple of years of saying, while virtual is really accessible for everybody, we really liked that team, that cohort experience where we got to meet with the others in person. So we went back to trying an in-person one day, and it worked really well last semester. So we want to do that again. And then the second day is virtual. So kick off 2 days in a row, and both half days. And then we go into a 3 webinar session, which are all Thursdays from 3 to 6. Those are virtual, they are recorded, but they are live and interactive. So it's not something you log into after the fact and just hit play. Of course, that's an option if you have a prior commitment, but someone else on your team is participating live. But this is where you have the chance to share what's going on with your business in real time, what insights you've gained through the course of the week, and you get feedback from the instructors and mentors through that process, as well as other members of your cohort. So definitely important that you or someone on your team is there and available during those 3 sessions. And then our celebration comes at the program finale in March, where we have members of our team and all of the cohorts come in and share what they've learned through the course of the program and share next steps. So what does it look like if you were to be accepted to phase 2? Where do you go from here? And so that's what we do at the finale of the program. Next steps are applying. So the deadline to apply is next Friday. Full disclosure, we almost always extend the deadline from Fridays to Monday because we don't, your application is going to come in 11:59 p.m. on Friday night. I promise you, Alicia is not going to be sitting at her computer at 1 a.m. on Saturday morning, reading applications and selecting them. So depending upon what's going on, we'll likely extend it. And I think because it's the beginning of the semester and the timeline is a little tight from when classes start, Alicia's probably going to extend it to Monday. So it gives you that weekend to submit the applications. If you have any questions specifically about the application, Alicia's emails here. Of course, we will answer any questions you have now in this session, but feel free to reach out to Alicia anytime up until the moment that the deadline expires. Website link here. She can throw that in the chat as well if she hasn't already, just so you can click to it. Is a short application. Questions are, there's a good number of short answer questions, but you do not need to feel like you have to go into depth on them. If you don't know the answer to every single question on there, for example, we ask you about potential competitors, let's say, that's fine. You can say, through this program, I want to gain more insights into others in the industry that may be serving the same customers or solving the same problem. perfect answer, right? You don't have to answer it like you know it. You just tell us what you need help with, and that will help our instructors really guide you through the cohort. So here's our team. Along the bottom are our instructors. So they are fantastic members of the team. They have taught at various levels through I-Corps. They've been with UConn teaching this program for a long time. Michelle from the very start. Alice teaches this program at Harvard, at other institutions, and she also teaches the national program. So if your team is really interested in that, talking with Alice during office hours and letting her know that you're interested in moving on to the next step and generating $50,000 more in funding from them. She can give you lots of insights. And you've already met myself, Alicia, and Caroline. And if you are accepted into our cohort, you will become very friendly with our business manager, Rachel, because she is the one that manages all of the funding. So your awards will go through her. All right. So just a couple of frequently asked questions, as you may be asking yourself these things now. I'm just going to pick a couple and answer. How long into this process does your team have to be able to participate? You don't have to be far along into your ideation process, honestly, because a lot of things will change and pivot. And the further are you into the development of your technology, the harder it is to integrate change into what you've done. We worked with a mental health mobile app in 2019, I believe. And they said to us, so they were through the point, they had already prototypes, they had already, had a significant amount of their stuff designed. And they said, I wish we had done Accelerate UConn before this, because we would have saved ourselves a significant amount of money, because we realized that the 3 features that our customers needed were not the 3 features we integrated into this app. We had other assumptions about what their needs were, but upon interviewing them, we realized actually they need these 3 things to want to use this app, and especially to be able to pay for it. So those were really good insights and feedback. So earlier on, the better. And I answered some of these already, but the big one is, how much time do you have to spend outside of the cohort? So we mentioned the kickoff and the 3 webinars. That's it's a big chunk of the program time that you're with the rest of the cohort, but there is some hours that you would dedicate outside of the program in office hours with the instructors if you need help in interviewing potential customers or stakeholders. And I would say, depending upon the number of team members you have, if you have 3 or 4, you can divide and conquer interviews pretty quickly every week and not spend a significant amount of time. If it's just one of you, you may be spending 5, 6, 7 hours additional outside doing interviews on your own. So thinking about who can you have on your team that can support this, so you're not spending a significant amount of time interviewing on your own. So that is all of the prepared slides that we have, but certainly available for questions. Alicia, I can see that the chat is increasing. I don't know if there's anything you want to throw out there for questions, or if anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask anything.
Yeah, so I've been answering a bunch of questions in the chat. If anyone has any additional questions they would like to throw out to the group, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
So I just stumbled upon the Accelerate program just like last week. I don't really know what I should do for it, because I don't really have an idea. So I'm just curious, what is it like when you have absolutely zero, nothing going into this program?
So you would have to have an idea to be accepted to the program. If you are someone that's interested in participating but doesn't have an idea, you're welcome to reach out to us, and you can possibly be someone that we place on another team for one of the other teams that's looking for additional support. And as kind of Jen mentioned with our kind of the other programs that we offer, Traction and Get Seated are good starting points if you are kind of more early stage in your ideation. I don't know, Jen, if you want to add anything else to that.
No, I think you answered it perfectly. And I liked the point about building the connection, because if you don't have an idea, there's plenty of business ideas that are looking for people that are really inspired by entrepreneurship and by making, a change in the world. Please let us know, and we're happy to build connections for you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Claire, I see you have your hand raised.
Hello. Yes. So my question is, I think you kind of answered it, but I'm still a bit it's not clear. So you mentioned that there are no restriction on having international students as part of the team. But what do you mean that they can legally receive funding?
Jen, can you answer that?
Um,
So I know we've had international students participate in these programs before. I know there are sometimes stipulations with what funding they can receive.
Yeah, it's a great question. So my go-to answer to this always is talking with ISSS. So this is not a course. It is not something you have to do for graduation. So there's often requirements for you to get approval to participate in things that may allow you to generate a business, let's say. So always asking. I know faculty are in a different boat because this is considered a research program. So you're doing research into the market opportunity. So it doesn't count necessarily the same way as it would a student, if that makes sense. So I would check with ISSS.
Okay.
Claire, I can send you some additional information via email if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, because well, for grad students, I'm not sure if they're considered employees. Maybe there are some other regulations, but we can follow up and it'll.
Yeah, and you can also, we've had international students go through this program before with other domestic students, and they have just had the funding appropriated to that other student, because it doesn't come to you in a check. It's just reimbursement for research expenses and things you're doing. So it's really not, it's not like we're giving your business, quote unquote, a check for anything. Those are other programs, and there are stipulations in other programs that we offer that we would want to talk to you about, but this one is different. So I would assess who's on your team and then talk with ISSS.
All right, so as long as there is one US person or that there won't be any issues on participating.
There shouldn't be.
Okay.
But again, for your overall peace of mind, I would suggest just having a quick chat with ISSS. They have Accelerate UConn and Summer Fellowship on record in their office. So they have the program outline as well as a letter from me explaining the participation of the student. So they can reference that.
And just another quick question. So if a team proposes, is it possible to work on more than one idea throughout the program, or it's just one idea per team?
One idea at a time.
Okay.
It doesn't mean you can't do different ideas through different programs. And we've had many repeat participants through Accelerate UConn with different ideas. So it doesn't stop you from going through again. And we've actually had maybe two businesses go through it twice because they had a new technology. They didn't stop their initial idea. They just added a technology to their portfolio, and they wanted to understand the market opportunity for that new technology. So there is no restrictions on how many times you can participate as an individual or a business, as long as you're conceptually working through different products or services.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the chat, we have a question from Kayla asking, are we still able to do this program if we have a plan in motion already?
Yeah, of course. I don't know what the plan is. Hopefully, most of the teams that go through have some idea of what they're doing and what they want to accomplish. So it depends on what that plan means. I don't truly understand. I don't know if Kayla, are you on the call and want to explain your question? So,
Kayla, I can follow up with you offline. Okay, so another question in the chat is, can I apply for the program if the tech already filed a patent?
Of course. And on the flip side, can you participate if you have not filed a patent? Of course. Yeah. I also want to alleviate some of the stressor that comes with the disclosure process or sharing with us about your technology. The instructors and other cohort members are not going to ask you such in-depth information about the technology that you've built that we would know enough to be able to, quote unquote, steal your idea, right? So please don't be concerned of that. I would caution you that if you're telling us or disclosing enough about what you've built, like your secret sauce, secret recipe, then you are disclosing too much information. So that is always a question I get. And I always say, rest assured, our team is not asking you to divulge and break down the components of your product or your service. We're trying to understand the problem you're solving and for who and how it fits into that existing value chain.
Okay, let's see. For clarification, do you need a team in place already to apply? So if you are applying, theoretically, you have one team member already, right? That's yourself. I recommend, based off the kind of workload and time that goes along with the program, that you have at least one other person with you. We know that's something, as we were answering Baz's question earlier, like we can help you find other people for your team, or if you have a faculty member that you have been working with in other capacities, you can bring them on as your academic lead if they're interested. There's lots of possibilities there. But you should have someone that is actively able to participate in all sessions. That is kind of the minimum understanding, is that if you're applying for the program, you are able to attend the program if accepted. Let's see. A bunch of other ones in here. Can you talk a bit about the difference between this program and the technology incubation program at UConn?
Great question. So that program is often one that our teams move on to. This is, you're at an initial concept stage, you're coming up with the idea, you're thinking of who you're going to sell this thing to, where do you fit in the market? You go through various programs at UConn, mostly at CCEI, you end up, if you are ready for a lab space and needing to then incubate your technology, can move on to TIP. A lot of faculty take once they've converted their business into a business and they've taken it out of their UConn research. Again, you want to have conversations with our technology commercialization space to figure out how you do that. They want to then have their own independent lab space that's not necessarily tied to their UConn lab space. For students, TIP also allows free or reduced rate lab space and space in their facility, usually if it's available. So that's something to think about as well. But it's usually that is much further down the road than here and now.
Can I add something about that as well, if you don't mind? Because I've had TIP companies and I work with TIP regularly. So yes, as Jen explained, really, in order to, when you have a company, so that is an actual entity, or you're very close to having that, that's when you might start to have these conversations. So it is further down the line. But one of the, you have to actually apply to have your company considered to be part of TIP, because they're developing a lot of resources and devoting time and effort to helping you succeed. And one of the things they'll ask is, what CCEI and UConn programs have you been through to, train yourself, educate yourself, learn the market, prepare to commercialize. So again, that's where, one of the values of the AU program and the affiliated programs at CCEI can help you. They can help you prepare to get to that further step. So does that answer your question about TIP program? I think we were looking at this from the point of view of a company wanting to belong to the incubator, but there are also student programs affiliated with TIP. So I wanted to be sure that answered your question.
All right. Can I just jump in there? So there was a good question that came in the chat, and I want to be really clear. So CCEI and our programs never take any ownership of your company in any capacity. So we are there to serve you and to support you as an entrepreneur. We have no financial interest ever in your business. We will not invest in you. We will not do any of those things. But we will certainly put you in the hands of people that will, if you're looking for investors or looking to increase your team, increase your portfolio, whatever you're doing. But we don't ever take interest. So we fund you. So we're giving you money. You don't give us money. All right. lots of questions coming through the chat. I know Alicia's kind of trying to stay on top
I
of
know.
answering some of them and asking some of them out loud. Another good question came in about successful applications within a certain range of years. So you have to be a freshman, sophomore, junior. So we do have undergraduates that have participated in this program in the past, and they've ranged. It really depends on what the idea is, what type of support you have. If you have connections to potentially faculty that are doing research in this area, or they're helping and willing to be supportive of you through this project, you're definitely going to be more successful in this process. It has nothing to do with where you are academically in your trajectory at UConn. It's really where you are with your idea and the type of support you have to be able to be successful.
We also have a question. Let's see where to go. There it is, from Alex. What about if you're an existing business already? Will this program provide help to support this business to get it to the next level?
Yeah. So you have to ask yourself the question of what do you need in your business right now? And if you're trying to understand the elements that we've discussed as related to Accelerate UConn, then yes, we do have businesses that have already legally formed that have gone through the program. If you are not at the point where you're trying to do just customer discovery and gain insights into your market, but you're looking to do something else, let's say, there's probably another program at CCEI that can better support you, like summer fellowship. So let's definitely, Alicia, I don't know if you want to get Alex's email address, but maybe connecting offline, because there may be another program that's a better fit depending upon the need. Good question. I know Alicia just answered this in the chat about the business proposal being physical product or technology. It really can be anything. It can be a service, a mobile app, physical product. Maybe you don't know exactly the form it's going to take. We actually have a lot of teams that have both a physical product and some sort of software that goes along with it. And those are really interesting to go along the process of, because we're validating if those things are needed in conjunction with each other, or if you can seek opportunity in the market with just one and adding the other in the future, which reduce costs and entry into the market. So those are fun to play along with to try to figure out the best method to build the initial MVP.
And there was someone, let's see. Venkata, you raised your hand in the chat. If you want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to.
Yeah, thank you for your opportunity. I am a UConn student, so I am an international student. I have a small idea, like small doubt on my idea, because what I have a doubt is that the funding was only restricted to the so like if I have an idea which is have more market in different another country, so is there any funding restriction to the particular team who have a better idea where they can make a good reputation in the market? So that's my question.
I don't know that I completely understand the question. I don't know, Alicia or Caroline, if you heard it better than I did. My mind started going down the path of you apply for Accelerate UConn with one idea, but realize halfway through you have a better one. Can you use the funding for that? That's what I thought I understood, but I may be wrong.
I will explain clearly. Like I have an idea, so where my idea have more impact and more impact in other countries. Like if you take in India, there is more market in India with respect to my idea. So if I started funding, like if my idea gets pitched out in this particular program and you are accepted, so we going to fund to my idea if I am able to if I'm able to just do my business in India. So will you able to fund me, or is there any restriction that I have to first first I have to implement my business idea in United States, then later on I have to just focus on other countries. So that's the question from my end.
So we do work in validating the market opportunity internationally as well. So you can do all of your customer discovery and research based in insights from customers in India. Yes. We don't, it matters less about where your business is legally formed, because as I mentioned, most teams haven't yet legally formed a business. Some have, but most haven't. So this is less about where your business is and more of we're doing research on a business concept, right? So this is research funding to support, regardless if you're trying to launch a company here in the US or somewhere else, you're gaining insights to the market, wherever that is. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you gain insights that you've realized that it's a better opportunity in China, let's say, those are great insights, and you can continue to jump in and doing customer discovery in a different space. There's lots of great questions still coming in, and there's some repetitive ones too. So one about the team that just came in. Do you have to have a team to participate? If you are one person, you are considered a team. Although, as Alicia mentioned, it's best to have multiple members to diversify the workload, but one person can be considered a team. There's some logistical questions coming in about patents. If you're not the name on the patent, but there's other members of your team that are, as long as the other members of your team are just listed, they can be the academic lead, let's say, they're the patent owners, and you can be the entrepreneurial lead, the one bringing the business idea through. That happens all the time. So as long as that person that owns the patent knows you're going through this program and highly encourages you and supports that, absolutely feel free to apply and put your name on the application.
Kayla is asking a good question. Yeah. Would you need a fiduciary if you receive funds?
No, I don't. Again, this isn't going to a business. It's really to reimburse you or to pay for expenses related to the research of your idea. So a lot of times back pre-COVID, most of the payments were made for teams to go off to do in-person customer discovery at trade shows, at conferences, other places where you couldn't get in front of your customers in any other way. Now Zoom makes it super easy for you to do that. So lots of times what we're doing is we're paying for our startups to get access to things like LinkedIn Premium, or get access to virtual networking and other opportunities within industries that are really specific to them. And so those costs are things that we're making those payments for you. Or if you went in and provided your information in LinkedIn and we just reimbursed you. So there's all kinds of logistics as it pertains to getting the funding, but no, you don't need a fiduciary to gain access to that.
Okay. I think we answered all of the questions.
This is great. You all kept us rapid fire questions. That's what maybe we should change the slide to saying. But this is great. That means you guys are interested, you're engaged, you're thinking about these opportunities, which we're really excited about. We have another hand raised because we don't get a break to answer questions, right? We want to just keep going. Go ahead. You can ask your question.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm Venkata. I have one more doubt regarding that. So I have an idea. So right now I am the only one person. So in my idea, I have different departments. Like I need analytics department, I need analytics department, I need software department. I need 2 to 3 departments. So initially, when I just applying for this program, should I make all the departments ready for involving the program, or after getting into the program, is you make a good team with consist of all my ideas, that what are the requirements that I need and what are the prerequisites that I need to proceed my idea. So what's the procedure?
Yeah, so that's a really great question of what types of areas of expertise you need at this early stage. If you know in concept that your idea could work, you may need someone that has an expertise in computer science or in something that you don't have. But once you have that, you can build it. That's fine. If you're still trying to validate whether or not this technology could potentially be possible because you have no research background, you have no understanding of how this works, and you don't even know if it will work, you probably want to get that information first before you go through this program, because you don't want to go through validating that this really great new cancer treatment would work if you don't have any scientific understanding or background on how to build this technology, right? Like you kind of want to know that. But if it's a mobile application and you don't know how to code, but you know that this potentially could serve a population and you just need to go out and gain insights from your customers, and if they say, yeah, we want this, then you can build the team of the people that you need to then code the app. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but in the process of building out your team over the course of this, building out this idea, you will talk with the mentors in this program and they will say to you, Alice is really good at saying, hey, you really want to talk to an engineer about this. Like you really want to make sure you get some insights in this process, because it's not just about validating that customer segment. If you guys remember the business model canvas, it's not just that customer, but it's also understanding like what key resources do you need to be able to build this thing. And part of that is building the physical or software or service, and you need to make sure those resources are available to you and it's possible. So I hope that answered your question. So think about it through the lens of what you're trying to build and understand if you need clarity into the concept or if you know enough about what you're trying to develop that you can move forward with this without it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm muted. Okay, so before we wrap up, there's one last question in the chat that is really great that Jen, I would love for you to answer. It's from Ben saying, I'm a freshman and don't quite have a business idea, but I'm interested in entrepreneurship. Are there other programs that might be a better fit?
Ben, this is great. I'm so glad that you're here and you're joining us during winter break. So yes, I would say be engaged with CCEI, put your name into, our system so that you get access to our weekly newsletters and events that are coming up. I think you would love to attend our Get Seated pitch nights. Those are virtual. Listen in. Everyone that listens in on the call aren't people that are pitching. Only 6 of the people that are on the call are pitching, right? Everyone else in the audience are those that either potentially want to pitch in the future, don't have an idea, want to be connected with one. So come to those, be inspired by some of the ideas that are being pitched. Maybe you will join a team. Maybe it'll inspire you with a new idea. We have Timely Topics, which is a weekly live podcast style recording that we do through Zoom. Lots of personal and professional development opportunities there, connecting, learning about this whole journey in entrepreneurship. So happy to have you be a part of our various programs. And again, if you're interested in potentially being plugged in with one of these teams, let Alicia know like what your major is, what your interests are, and we can happily pair you with an entrepreneur or a faculty member that is going through the program this spring. Thank you, Caroline, for the shout out about Timely Topics. All right, so I think we are just about at time. So wanting to be really cognizant of everyone's afternoon and schedule. So thank you all for joining us, especially in the middle of winter break. I hope that you all had your questions answered. And for those of you that are going to listen to this recording in the future, please feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions. The deadline is coming up next week, and we look forward to seeing your application. If you have questions as you're doing that, please reach out to Alicia. No question is too small. So look forward to seeing your applications come in, and Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you all for attending. I'm putting my email and Caroline's email in the chat in case you want to reach out for any questions. Otherwise, the recording will be sent out later this afternoon with a reminder about the application deadline as well. So
Okay.
thank you all
And
for
thanks. I'm also offering, again, if people want to reach out with questions, or particularly if you're a faculty or postdoc, a graduate student, and you're just wondering where does this all fit in your research program, your research directions, I'm happy to discuss in general or in relation to this program.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.